Welcome, full of bookworms, to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and today it is time for another Monday Musings. So I had a really great first week in June. I decided last minute to participate in the Tarot Readathon, which is put on by Deja at Deja's Book World, I believe, and then Noelle at Noelle Sunday. And so their channels, of course, will be linked down below. I am on Team Swords, which are co-hosted by the Roomies Digest, which is Christine and Mo, Alexis at Alexis Fully Booked, and Bo at Bo's Books. So really glad to be on their team. And my bookmarks came in. So of course I had to get the Swords bookmark. Absolutely love this one. And then I had to just get the general Tarot Readathon bookmark. Absolutely love both of these. And can't wait to use them this next week in the books I'm going to be reading. I have been doing my daily tarot pulls. Some have fit, some haven't. I haven't done it yet today, though, because I thought I would do that here with you. So we have the Tarot of the Divine by Yoshi Yoshitani. Absolutely love this deck. It's based on different folklore, mythologies, and fairy tales from around the world. So I've really been enjoying pulling a card each day and seeing whether it kind of fits the day. I will say the first two had to do with kind of creativity and such, and I was working on my reading journal, so that actually worked. And so I just kind of shuffle like this until a card kind of either sticks in my hand, like I have one card that just doesn't shuffle in, or one card falls out, just whatever the case may be. It's kind of awkward for me to hold it up that high, so I'm just going to continue to do so down here until we get one. But yeah, some of them have matched, some of them, we got it fell. Some of them have matched, some of them not so much. But the other day, I got La Llorona, and it definitely matched my mood that day. I was in a bad mood. So this one we have the 10 of Coins, and let's go ahead and see what that is based on, because I'm not familiar with that one. So let's see here. Let me find it. 10 of Coins is Pan Hu from China, the Yao legend. The 10 of Coins represents the hard-earned rewards of a difficult venture. The story of Pan Hu celebrates the lineage that benefits from his hard work. The hardships he once endured allowed him to appreciate his good fortune and retire surrounded by his progeny. The upright, which it was upright when it fell, it means inheritance, ancestry, pension, settling down, and financial stability. So I'll have to kind of ponder on that and think what it means to me personally, but I'll do that after talking to you guys. So that's the card I pulled for today. And yeah, not a crazy week or anything like that. I did get every single book read that I wanted to, which I love, plus an extra one that wasn't originally in the cards, and worked. So as far as the readathon goes, I was able to read 3 books for the readathon, and one of them worked for the weekly challenge. So each week they pull a card for our team, and if we read a book that features whatever that card's prompt is, we get extra points for that. So one of the books, like I said, I was originally planning on reading it, and it worked. And then another book was just for Kim from Expedition Through Pages game. It didn't work, and for my own personal TBR game, but it didn't work for Tarot Readathon. And so I did get that read as well. And I still need to, the prompt was to read the book and watch the movie. So I still need to watch the movie, and we'll talk about that. And then I've continued to work on my way through a couple of books. So let's go ahead and start with the first book I finished. So this one was for the Sun. It was in the number 3 space. So it got double the points for 3-word title. And I chose The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. I did add this in specifically so I could get those double points. But the Sun is to read a fun or joyful book. And this is definitely the case. I had watched the movie a while back and then got the book, and it's just been sitting there. I definitely want to get the rest of the series because I absolutely love this. So cute. So we're basically following, what is her name? Roz? And she's a robot, obviously, and her ship crashes in a hurricane, and she's the only robot that survives, but she ends up on this island. And so she's having to figure out how to live in the wild and live with these animals and such. I think it was very cute, very fun, very heartwarming with the friendship she makes with the animals. And it has a good plot line because, like first it's kind of slow. She's just kind of learning. But then it does have a plot line regarding, where she comes from and such. So really had a great time with this. Absolutely loved it. So that was the first book. I finished it on June 1st, I believe, and I just took, while I fed the dogs, I started reading it, and then I just finished it that evening before starting on my reading journal. The extra book, it was funny because I got the audiobook from Libby, and I had done a Pango order, and so I had ordered, when I do a Pango order, I always look to see what other books the seller has that I might be interested in. So I'm going for a specific book, but if they have something else I'm interested in, especially because you do have to pay shipping on Pango, I'm always like, well, might as well make it worth it. And so I had ordered this one because they had it, and then the hold came in from Libby, and I really enjoyed it. And then the book arrived, so that was nice. And that's The Ministry of Time by Kaliane Bradley. I really enjoyed this one. I did only give it a 4-star. The ending is very ambiguous, and I don't think things were fully explained throughout. But I really loved this. It worked for the weekly challenge, even though this didn't work for any of my polls. It did work for the weekly challenge because it does feature romance. So we're following. I'm horrible with names. So Graham Gore and what is her name? I want to say Clara, but it could be mistaken. It doesn't say on the back for some odd reason. I think it's Clara, though, but we're following her. She's a bridge for this government project. They're bringing people who have died in the past, they're bringing them before they die, they bring them to the future. And it's, this experiment to see if they can survive, what happens with them, and all that. And so she's a bridge. She's teaching them how to live in the current century. And they live together for a year, and then, it kind of goes from there. And of course, there's a romance in here, so they do end up falling in love. But I really enjoyed this. I didn't see the reveals that were coming. I didn't see it. It was kind of interesting because you have this like mystery thriller element. Um, you have kind of that sci-fi element with this experimentation and time travel. You have the romance element, and then you also have like this slice of life feel to it, because especially in the beginning when they're living together and she's just trying to teach him about the current century and such. But I really had a good time with it. I hate ambiguous endings, so I really did not like the ending. And like I said, I don't think things were fully explained, but I thought overall it was pretty well balanced between all the different components, and I had a really good time with this. So like I said, wasn't a tarot pull, but it did work for the weekly challenge. Then I was so happy to read this one. I read Paladin Strength by T. Kingfisher. This is book 2 in the Saint of Steel series. And I love this, I think, even more than book 1. I did only give it 4 stars. Again, the balance was kind of off, which is how I felt about book 1, Paladin's Grace. I felt like the balance was a little bit off between, there's like the series mystery that pulled from the first book. There's kind of a secret with our main, oh no, this one's Clara. So yeah, I don't remember her name. I knew there was a Clara somewhere. This is Clara Ishvan. And yeah, so there's kind of a mystery with her, and there's a quest with her and her sisterhood. She's searching for her sisters. She's a nun, the Saint Ursa. And so there's kind of this questing aspect. They're on the road, which I think helped with the balance, and some of the like, okay, the focus isn't here because she has to wait for answers or whatnot. So some of the unbalance was explained as well, but I still think it could have been a little bit better balanced between like the series plot, their plot to go save her sisters, and then the romance as well. But I really loved them together. I liked how it played out. I will say the ending felt a little bit rushed, and it just kind of like cut off. I don't think it really wrapped up in a satisfactory way. And the thing with the series plot line, what happened in this one, I'm like, is it going to continue in the next one? So it doesn't really like wrap that up. Like there's a resolution to it in this book, but it doesn't really wrap it up, and you don't really know, like, is it going to continue in the next one, or was that it? Like I don't see a way for it to continue in the next one, but it didn't wrap up either. So I'm like really confused about that. But love this. I loved them together. This one was for Nine of Swords, which is book with mental health rep, and it also worked for the Lovers card for the weekly challenge. It does, it's not as prevalent in this one, the mental health rep, because Istvan, as far as the paladins go, there's 7 paladins, they all lost their god. Um, and as far as that goes, like he's a little bit more stable than some of the others, but it does talk about it, and it does talk about that loss and such. And then she has trauma from when her sisters got kidnapped. So there's that in there as well. But I absolutely love this. I almost was tempted to just jump into the next one, but it's like, no, like I'll save that for July because I have enough reading to do. Then I did also listen to this one. I got it again from Libby. I was originally going to read it physically, but I checked and it was available to borrow right away. And that's the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is one of the prequels to the Hunger Game trilogies. This is following President Snow when he was a young man. I love this. I think I love this even more than the original. And I've always said, like, I don't mind reading an unlikable character if their motivations and such make sense for the character. And I really felt that was the case. And there's like, you kind of get into the psychology of his head. And I absolutely love that. So we're following him when he's a young man, he's graduating the academy. And for the first year, it's been 10 years since the start of the Hunger Games, and he's going to be a mentor. They're having mentorships for the first time this year. And I really loved how it, like, you see, like, the beginnings and how the Hunger Games weren't that smooth yet or polished. And then how, particularly in this book, how, like, some of the things that we recognize from the Hunger Games trilogy, how they came to be. And I really enjoyed that. You see kind of the red flags in him even as a young man. There is a romance in here, so it did work for the weekly challenge, and that's a toxic romance. And you see, like, he doesn't really understand what love is, you know? And so I love, like, the psychology in here. I love seeing, you know, what the Hunger Games were and how in this iteration and him being involved, how they came to be what they are. I really liked how she tied in District 12 in particular. I really enjoyed that. So 5 stars, 100%. And I was surprised because I thought this was going to be my least favorite because we're following Snow and I really don't like him. And it's definitely my favorite. I still have to read Sunrise on the Reaping, which again I'm planning on trying to do in July. So we'll see, because I'm particularly excited for that one. That's what kind of gave me the prompt. I've never read The Hunger Games, and that's kind of what pushed me when that one came out. And then I found it. I think I found it in a little free library or at the thrift store. And so now that I have that, I was like, okay, now's the time to read them because I'm really interested in Haymitch's story. So yeah, 5 stars. I ended up listening to it so I could play World of Warcraft with my husband this weekend and kind of just give my eyes a break because I was reading a lot. And I listened to it in 2 days. So that was fantastic. Then this is the book that was not for Tarot Readathon at all. It's just for TBR Trek. And so I read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And then I also did read through The Looking Glass. I just finished this morning by Lewis Carroll. I was worried going into this one because I've never liked the movies. Even as a kid, I did not like Alice in Wonderland. And I still need to watch the movie. So I know I'm not going to like it, but that's fine. I'll put it on and I'll do a project or something. Um, I Through the Looking Glass was a little bit more palatable to me, but it's so nonsensical, and it just don't see, like, I just don't get it. And I get it's a dream, and like I have very vivid dreams. And my dreams don't always make sense, but there's a certain logic that kind of goes with them. And it's like, it felt like he's just throwing, as many random weird things as he could in here. And it was really hard for me to follow along, really hard for me to get through. But I did finish it, and like I said, I will be watching the movie. I decided I don't really like the live action ones, so and it's been since I was a child that I watched the animated film, so I'm going to watch the animated film. And so that's what I'm going to do. This one got 2 stars for me. It's just not for me. I know a lot of people love it, but it's not for me. Like I just can't. Then my husband and I have been working on The Final Target by Nora Roberts. This is her newest release, just came out in May. We're just over the halfway mark right now. And this one, we're following Arden. She's an author. This guy is showing up to every signing, all her book signings. She's a new author, and just like, I want to pick your brain, like have coffee with me, have dinner with me. And she ends up running into him on the street and finally agrees to have coffee. And it's kind of a stalking situation. And then she does get attacked by him. So big trigger warning for that. I've never seen, like, I mean, I have all her books. I haven't read all of them. There's like some that I'm just like, um, but I haven't really seen her go into that much detail on like assaults and such. And so this one, like, definitely trigger warning for that. And so, yeah, there's going to be a romance. Obviously, I couldn't count it for the weekly challenge because we haven't finished it yet. And this one is for, let's see here, it was my third 3-card spread, and it was for the second spot. And I did pull the Knight of Cups, and I decided to use that prompt instead of plus or minus on either side. And so it's a book where a character goes through emotional turmoil, and obviously with being attacked and such. And like, she's still, if somebody knocks on her door, she's not expecting it, like has those flashbacks and such. So definitely emotional turmoil there. But yeah, so far, like, is better than some of the other ones she's been putting out, but still nothing like her old stuff. Like, she's 75 now, almost 76, and I think she just needs to semi-retire. She's written books for a very long time. It's very slow paced. They're very repetitive at some points. Like, she'll say something and then immediately say it again. There was a typo that happened twice where she said stuff, but she spelled it wrong twice. The editors obviously didn't catch it. I think at this point, because I've noticed in a lot of her books, there's a lot of like typos and such. And I think at this point, the editors aren't even reading it really. So, because there's a lot of typos, and they figure, well, it'll sell anyway. And I'm one of the suckers because I have her whole collection. I'm going to keep buying them. But yeah, so it's a little bit slow. Like I said, it was very action packed in the beginning. Part 2 is really slow. It's the healing. And so she's moved now, and we've met the love interest and such. But yeah, I'm going to continue to read this a little bit each night. Should definitely finish it up this week, and if we do, we're going to start the next read that we're reading together. Otherwise, that will start next week. But so far, okay. Probably sitting at about a 4-star for me, but that's okay. And then I've continued to read Theo of Golden by Alan Levi each night. I probably, let's see, I was at 130 pages last week, and now I'm at 248. So read 118 pages this past week. And it's like 380 something pages. So 384 pages. So yeah, I'll continue to work on this. I'm just reading a couple chapters at the very end of the night. And of course, by the time we read our book together and I work on maybe more of my other book that I'm currently reading, this one is the very last one. I'm tired, I'm ready for bed, and I just kind of read a couple chapters and then go to bed. Some of the chapters are really short, some of them are longer, but we're just following Theo, and he's meeting these people of Golden as he bestows upon them these portraits that a local artist has done. And it keeps kind of dropping down for me. But I am still really enjoying it, and I'm still very intrigued about Theo's history and what the deal is with him, because that's still kind of a mystery and intrigue. But it's very it really lends itself to reading very slowly, I think. So I have been enjoying reading a couple chapters each night. And that one is not for Tarot Readathon either, because that was a rollover from June, and it doesn't work for any of the prompts or anything like that. So those are the books I've read. So we have 2 that are continuing on to this next week, and then we have 5 that I'm hoping to get to, maybe 6. Like I said, we might start Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman, because this is the next book my husband and I are reading together. So we'll just have to see if we finish the final target in good time or not. So that's a maybe. Otherwise, my plans are I am going to be listening to Dead Voices by Katherine Arden. This is the second in the Small Space series. This does work for the weekly challenge because it's about this group of 3 friends. And so in this one, we're following them, and they are snowed in at this cabin, and there's this ghost and spooky things happening, and then there's also this ghost hunter that appears. I'm going to be listening to this because I chose this for my roll for reads, which is the 3rd time I'm doing this. I'll leave the other 2 linked down below if you want to check them out. And so this one should either be out this Friday or next Friday. It just depends on how the week goes. So I'm going to be listening to this. I got a middle grade horror on audiobook, so this is what I'm going to be listening to. I will be at different locations. I will have specific snacks and such. So I'm really looking forward to this. I love Small Spaces. I think it had really great vibes for middle grade horror, and I'm looking forward snowed in mountain cabin. That's right up my alley. So I'm really looking forward to this one. That one will for sure get done. Then I'm also planning on starting Kingdom of the Curse by Kerri Maniscalco. This is the 2nd book in that series. I read the 1st book. It was for my family book club. I'm the only one that ended up reading it. My mom couldn't get into it, and my niece couldn't really get into it. And then I don't know what happened with my sister. She said she started it, but so I was the only one that ended up reading it. I didn't think the writing was the best, but I loved the vibes. It was perfect witchy, the princes of hell. I absolutely eat that stuff up. So it really worked for me. And so I want to continue on. This does work for Tarot Readathon. It was in the number 2 spot, 9 of Swords. And I pulled 9 of Swords, which was, again, mental health rep, but I could go plus or minus on either side. So I decided to go with the 10 of Swords, which is a book with death in the synopsis. It's not in the synopsis on the back of here, but it was in the synopsis on Goodreads. And it's not a spoiler. It happens at the beginning of the other book. It's the premise for the whole series. But her sister does die in that 1st book. She's murdered. And so it is in the synopsis on Goodreads. And so, yeah, I'm going to be reading that and hopefully enjoying it. Because, like I said, I did really enjoy the 1st book, even though I didn't think the writing was great. Then we have my family's book club. This, again, does not work for Tarot Readathon unless there's a friendship in there where I could use it for the weekly challenge, but I don't know that. And so we're going to be reading Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. This is my family's book club for June. And I'm very, very excited about this. We're following this girl, and I do believe there's a romance in here as well, but they live in this isolated town, and some of their people go off for supplies and go missing, and there's these creatures that roam the town, and they're willing to protect them for a small favor, essentially. And my niece has started this. Actually, she got the books confused at first, and so she did start this already. And she says it's pretty slow paced. You're just getting a lot of talk about the monster so far, and nothing has really happened. But I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is one I'm going to love as well. So there's that one. Like I said, doesn't work for tarot unless there's a friendship that works for the weekly challenge. Then I'm hoping to get to The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This one does have a romance. Again, don't know if it will feature friendship. I should probably have read this the first week, but I wasn't ready for it. So I was like, it'll be okay. And this one, I got The Lovers. And so it needs to be a book featuring a romance, and this definitely does. We're following the circus that arrives without warning. And there's a fierce competition between two young magicians, and they've been trained since childhood. And unbeknownst to them, this is a game which only one can be left standing, but they fall in love. So I've been wanting to read this. This has been on my radar and on my TBR for a very, very long time, and I've been wanting to read it for a long time. So I'm very happy to finally get to it. Like I said, this is thicker, and Kingdom of the Curse is thicker as well. So hopefully I'll be able to get to both of those and Small Favors. But then we have a small book, and I'm going to be reading The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. So this one was for the 3 positions. So again, 3-word title, get double points, and it does have a 3-word title. So I did add this on, but it also works for Kim's Game, which is to read a book less than 200 pages. This one was for the 8 of Swords, and it's a book that intimidates you. And this definitely does, because I know I mentioned this last week, so I'm repeating myself, but I read The Island of Dr. Moreau and loved it. Then read The Time Machine, and I struggled with that one. That one's a very short book, and I really, really struggled. So now I'm kind of nervous about this one. I'm very, I don't know if I'm going to like it. It's short, but am I going to struggle to get through it like I did with The Time Machine? Very kind of intimidated by this at this point because of The Time Machine. So we'll see. It does sound interesting. You have a stranger emerges out of a freezing February day with a request for lodging in a cozy provincial inn. Who is this out-of-season traveler? More confounding is the thick mask of bandages obscuring his face. Why is he disguised in such a manner? What keeps him hidden in his room? The villagers, aroused by trepidation and curiosity, bring it upon themselves to find answers. So very excited to try this, but very nervous as well, because like I said, The Time Machine was so hard for me to get through. And this seems like, I don't know, like where it falls between The Time Machine and The Island of Dr. Moreau, but we will find out. So there are those 5 books that I for sure want to get to, and then possibly start Operation Bounce House. And then I do have another Libby hold that came out. It's Gone Before Goodbye, I want to say is what it's called, which is by Reese Witherspoon and Harlan Coben. And so yeah, we're gonna try that one. I'll listen to it while I do chores. I do have all my Christmas books. That's, the last one came in this past Pingo order. I was thinking about doing a reread, but then I had one that worked. So I do want to wrap those up, because I like to wrap them early, so I kind of forget about them a little bit. My husband numbers them, so I don't know like which number is going to come when, but I also do forget about them a little bit by the time Christmas rolls around. So I do want to get those wrapped up. So I think what I'll do is I'll listen to that book while I do chores, and then work on that. And then if I play World of Warcraft or anything like that, I'll have it to listen to. So that one will just be kind of throughout while I'm doing things where I can't read physically. But yeah, I'm very excited for these next 5 coming up. And then, of course, we'll continue to work on The Final Target and Theo of Golden as well. So that's 8 books that I'll be reading throughout this week. And yeah, I'm very excited to get to these books. I would love to know if you've read any of these, if you're interested in reading any of these now that I've talked about them a little bit. If you're participating in Tarot Readathon, let me know what team you're on, or if you're participating in any readathons, or if you're just having a chill month. If you don't want to chat in the comments down below, you can always leave me a rabbit or any type of animal emoji to just let me know you're here and you're helping to support the channel. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.